Most people think wealth is a number. They look at 100,000 like it's the first real checkpoint. Like once you hit it, you've made progress. And before that, you're just playing around. That's why you see it everywhere. First 100,000. First 6 figures. The magic milestone. But here's the problem. 100,000 can be a lie. Not because it isn't valuable, and not because it doesn't matter. It's a lie because it's a visible scoreboard that can distract you from the milestones that actually decide whether you become wealthy. You can hit 100,000 and still be financially fragile. You can be below it and already have real leverage in your life. In other words, wealth isn't just what shows up in your bank balance. It's what your money allows you to do. So in this video, I'm going to walk through the hidden wealth milestones, the moments that don't always come with a nice round number, but change how your life works. Things like the first time your money pays a real bill, the moment you build enough cash to say no without fear, and the point where your investments start pulling more weight than your effort. If you want practical money guidance that focuses on what actually changes your life, hit like and subscribe. Now let's start with why 100,000 is a useful milestone, but also the most misunderstood one. Section 1. Why 100,000 is a lie. When I say 100,000 is a lie, I don't mean it's worthless, it's a real milestone. The lie is thinking the number alone tells you you're secure. 100,000 is an incomplete scoreboard. It measures a balance, but it doesn't measure control. You can hit 100,000 and still be fragile if your life depends on every paycheck, your expenses are tight, or you're carrying costly debt. On paper you're ahead, but one bad month still hurts. And you can be below 100,000 and already be building real leverage if you have a strong savings gap, a cash buffer, and a system that keeps investing consistent. The number is smaller, but your foundation is stronger. That's what the hidden scoreboard tracks. Not digits, but options. How much flexibility your money creates and how quickly you can recover when life happens. Section 2. The first time your money pays a real bill. One of the first hidden milestones is the first time your money pays a real bill. Not in a theoretical way, and not in a spreadsheet projection. I mean, you get a dividend, interest payment, or distribution, and it covers something you normally would have paid for with your paycheck. Maybe it's your phone bill, a utility bill, a subscription you actually value, or part of your groceries. The amount can be small and still matter, because the shift is not about the dollars. It's about what the dollars represent. Up to that point, your life is funded almost entirely by earned income. You work, you get paid, you spend. Investing can feel like a separate world that you're feeding for later. But the first time your investments send cash back to you, and it replaces wage money, something clicks. You're not only earning anymore, you're owning. And that identity shift changes behavior. You start thinking in terms of systems instead of effort. You pay more attention to staying invested, to protecting the base, to not doing things that break the compounding machine. It's a quiet milestone, but it's one of the first moments where wealth stops feeling like a future concept and starts feeling like something that's beginning to function in the present. Section 3. The power to say no reserve. Another hidden milestone is what I call the power to say no reserve. This is not your retirement account. It's not money you hope will grow over the next 20 years. It's a cash buffer that sits close enough to you that it can actually change your decisions in real time. It's the difference between taking a bad deal because you have to and walking away because you can. When you have this reserve, you can turn down a job that feels wrong. You can refuse a rushed decision. You can handle a surprise expense without immediately going into panic mode. You stop needing every situation to work out perfectly because you have a gap between you and the edge. That gap is wealth, not because cash earns the highest return, but because it removes desperation. And when desperation is gone, your choices get better. You negotiate differently. You take smarter risks. You can wait for the right opportunity instead of grabbing the first one that pays. People who never build this reserve stay vulnerable even if they invest. They might have money on paper, but they still feel trapped because their day-to-day decisions are being forced by urgency. The power to say no reserve is one of the first moments where money starts buying freedom in the present, not just in retirement. Section 4. The month your savings rate becomes automatic. This is when you stop treating saving like something you try to do, and it becomes something that happens by default. The money leaves your checking account on payday, goes into investments or savings, and you build your life around what's left. You're no longer negotiating with yourself every month about whether you can afford to contribute. The decision is already made. This beats motivation because motivation is unreliable. Some months you feel disciplined, other months life is busy, stress is high, and spending becomes the easiest form of relief. When saving depends on willpower, it breaks under pressure. When it's automated, it survives those months. And that consistency is what makes everything else possible. Most wealth stories are not built on one perfect year. They're built on years where the habit stayed intact. The habit is the engine because it keeps feeding the portfolio long enough for compounding to eventually take over. Without that milestone, the later milestones don't arrive, no matter how much you understand the math. Section 5. The day market volatility stops controlling your mood. You look at a drawdown and you don't rush to do something. You don't panic sell. You don't start rewriting your whole plan because the market had a bad week. You notice it. You may not enjoy it, but it doesn't hijack you. This is wealth behavior because most people don't lose money in the market because they picked the wrong fund. They lose because they can't hold through discomfort. They buy when it feels safe, then they sell when it feels dangerous, and they repeat that cycle for years. The math never gets a chance to work because their emotions keep interrupting it. When you hit this steadiness, your process changes. You stop checking your portfolio constantly. You rely more on rules you set when you were calm, like rebalancing on a schedule or continuing contributions automatically instead of making decisions based on headlines. You also start thinking more in years than in weeks, which makes normal volatility feel smaller. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about building enough conviction and structure that temporary drops don't turn into permanent mistakes. That is one of the most important hidden milestones because it's the difference between participating in compounding and sabotaging it. Section 6. The crossover moment that changes your timeline. This is when the growth on your portfolio starts rivaling what you can realistically add in a year. You're still contributing and you're still doing the work, but the base has gotten large enough that market returns are no longer a side effect. They're a major driver. It's hidden because it usually happens quietly. There's no clear day where you get a trophy. You just have a year where the account grows by an amount that surprises you, and then you have another year where it happens again. At first you assume it's luck or a good market. Then you realize it's not just luck, it's size. The machine is finally big enough that normal market movement makes a meaningful difference. That's the moment your wealth engine starts pulling more weight than your effort. You're no longer building the entire future one contribution at a time. You're building a system that can move forward even when you're not pushing as hard. And once you cross that line, your job shifts from trying to make progress happen to protecting the progress you've already created. The core truth is simple. Visible numbers are nice, and they can be motivating, but hidden milestones are what make wealth real. They are the moments where money starts changing your behavior, your stress level, and your options, even before your bank balance looks impressive to anyone else. If this video gave you clarity, hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, which hidden milestone are you closest to right now? The first time your money pays a real bill, building a real power to say no reserve, or hitting that crossover moment. Also, watch the next video, 10 Signs You Are Secretly Rich, because it will help you spot the real indicators of financial strength that most people never learn to look for.